It is exactly 9 minutes past 10. People of Power, a very good morning to you and welcome back to the second hour of Power Talk. With that sound in your ears, Power 98.7, and the voice is myself, Lukhona Lupower Mnguni. Yeah, we keep on powering through on what has been a beautiful, beautiful journey and year. You know, you get towards that end. Yeah, ngati start feeling, manjubuti. Yeah, it's almost Christmas time. But before we do that, let's talk to the Gauteng Provincial Legislature once more. Yesterday, as I said yesterday, spending so much time with honorables, I might become honorable myself very soon if it is contagious by any chance. I am joined in studio by Rebecca Phaladi-Digamela, Portfolio Chairperson, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health. Gregory Schneemann is the Chairperson for the Portfolio Committee on Roads and Transport, and Mpisi is the moneymaker, Chairperson for the Portfolio Committee on Finance. Let me start off with you, Rebecca Dumela, and welcome to Power Talk.
Thank you very much, Lukhona. Thank you for inviting me to your presentation this morning.
Thank you so much, Gregory. Good morning and welcome to Power Talk.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. Thank you.
Joe, good morning and welcome to Power Talk.
Good morning, Lukhona, and welcome to, I'm happy to be in your studio. Sorry I'm late.
As long as you don't touch me in my studio, I think everything else will be fine.
Thank you so much.
Perhaps, Joe, let me start off with you because you are the Chairperson of the, Portfolio Committee on Finance. Mm-hmm. It's an important committee because it has the global overview on the health status of finances, not just of one department, of the entire provincial government, which then has material bearing on the performance of the other departments in the province of Gauteng. What is the financial health status of the province of Gauteng?
Thank you very much, and morning to the listeners, Lukhona. I think, let me start by saying Gauteng's resources are healthy. However, our job as the Portfolio Committee is to monitor the implementation of what we call the annual performance plans by the department. But we monitor the spending pattern of the departments. One of those is that we look at per quarter. You know that the law requires that a department should spend at least 25% of their budget per quarter. So we look at that particular APP for that quarter. And if we realize that there is a red light, we then act against the accounting officer as well as the executive authority, which is the MEC, for them to account to us and tell us why are they not spending or why are they overspending. But I can safely say that if we look at the year that we're dealing with now, which is 2019-20 annual year, we look at the state of performance by the departments. Majority of them, they've reached the stage where we are satisfied with the spending.
Some have argued that COVID-19 has had some impact in terms of frustrating the delivery of certain services.
Yeah.
Have you seen, as you track that spending, that indeed there is a lesser spending rate available, perhaps because people are constrained, things are not happening at the required rate. There had to be a change in how we do work and all of those things. And as the portfolio committee, are there things that you are hoping to assist the government with in terms of increasing their capacity to be able to deliver under pandemic
the
times?
affected department in this case are the infrastructure development, road and transport, as well as the social development, as well as the last one is sports, arts and culture. You know that we even had the picketing for sports, arts and culture. The artists were up in arms that they were not assisted by the department. You look at that. But remember, in 2019, there was no construction happening for almost 9 months. And as a result, the Department of Infrastructure could not even spend. The Department of Roads and Transport, I think my colleague will talk more about that. They couldn't even spend as well because of the gap that was created by COVID. And but what we looked at the money that was there for the remaining few months into the fourth quarter and how they've spent that money. And we look at the programs which they have implemented. We are satisfied with that. However, I must also indicate that if you don't spend, we as at the portfolio committee, we encourage the treasury of the province to take the money back. There's no rollover in government. If you don't spend, the money goes back to treasury, and then you must motivate again for you to get the very same amount of money if you are required to do so.
I really want to bring in your colleagues here, but you are raising something that often triggers me about the handling of money in government. So we've seen money being taken back, but not only being taken back in some instances, being reprioritized to so-called provinces that are seemingly delivering, especially in human settlements.
That's correct.
This is something that is done. But the truth is that the need that necessitated for that budget has not vanished. Why does then the money not remain and there's capacity given for delivery to Look,
we look at the consequence management side of it because the accounting officers must tell us why they did not spend that money. They must also account to what we call the executive council, which is chaired by the premier of the province. In our case, I chaired the portfolio committee and report to the speaker of the legislature about the performance of the portfolio committee on how we tracked the performance of Department A and B, and then we make recommendations. And those recommendations, we make them as our own resolution as the House of the legislature to make sure that that department, if we set to the MEC as the executive authority, you must discipline the accounting officer for failing to meet these requirements. And if the MEC does not act, the premier is then forced to act against the MEC because it is that relationship that we have. Because our role is to monitor how government performs and how government adheres to the law, because we are the lawmakers. We make sure that the department, when we adopt as the House of the Sitting of Gauteng, if we adopt the program that is presented by the MECs and their accounting officers, we make sure that we hold them accountable to that, because we look at the APP and we look at the budget and we put that together and said this is implementable or not.
All right, Gregory, let me bring you in here because you touched on you being affected, especially during this time of pandemic, roads and transport. But before we start talking about specific issues that, concern you, there is nothing that is as frustrating as a motorist. You are driving, there is a pothole, and you are complaining, the government of Gauteng. And the government of Gauteng said, no, that's not our road. What is in the purview of the Gauteng Provincial Government when we talk about roads and transport? As in, what is within your jurisdiction and what is within the jurisdiction of either metros? You don't have too many district municipalities here. Metros, 2 district municipalities in the province of Gauteng.
Thank you very much. And once again, good morning to your listeners. I mean, on the issue of potholes, you're quite right. It's a major challenge and it's an extreme irritation and a cause of danger to motorists as well. Firstly, the Provincial Department of Roads and Transport their responsibility is for provincial roads. And there's a set of provincial roads throughout the province, and that is the responsibility of the provincial department to maintain, to upgrade on a regular basis. Municipalities have municipal roads, and that's their area of responsibility, and they are supposed to keep those roads in good condition, upgrade, carry out maintenance, construct new roads, etc. However, what has happened now more recently through the provincial department, the MEC has been leading a campaign called Smart Mobility Weekends. And so there's been a big focus by the province on upgrading its provincial roads, carrying out maintenance, repairing potholes where there's potholes, but also at the same time working in tandem with municipalities and assisting those municipalities that might need help in trying to help maintain their roads. And so it's a program that's been going on for a few months, and it certainly has made an impact. And I can just say this, in the constituency where I'm deployed out in the Makali City municipal area, there's been quite a lot of work that's been done together with the municipality on upgrading some of the roads, fixing potholes. And I can just cite one example, and that is the road that goes through the Magaliesburg CBD.
Okay.
It was in a bad state, had a huge pothole problem, and so the department came in, worked with the municipality, upgraded the whole stretch of road, and when you drive through that CBD area now,
Much better.
it's much better. So just an example of what the provincial department is trying to do. Obviously not taking away the responsibility of municipalities, but assisting where it can assist.
Now let's deal with the second arm, transport. What does that constitute? If I were to look around and I say I am in a transportation system that is being run by the Gauteng province, what am I talking about?
Well, the provincial department has a responsibility for the issuing of permits and licenses for taxis in the province. The Gautrain falls under the Department of Transport. Obviously, I've touched on the issue of the road network. That's also part of the department. The other area that the department has responsibility for is the renewal of driver's licenses and renewal of motor vehicle licenses. So we have driver licensing testing centers across the province, some run by the province, some run by the municipalities, where they perform that function on behalf of the province. So when you need to renew your license, that's where you go. And it's an area that is the responsibility of the province to ensure that motorists can renew their driver's licenses, their vehicle license, roadworthies, etc. So that's the other area that's a responsibility of the department. Obviously, the construction of new roads throughout the province also falls under the department.
Now, you talk about permitting, which is such an important and contentious issue. We've spoken to the MEC on this platform through different shows, especially around the time of taxi violence. We saw a task team being put in place, a report issued, but it's a recurring issue about, contestation over routes and access to those routes by various taxi operators. What are some of the views that are coming or emerging within the portfolio committee in making sure that the department actually does something that is a lasting solution in dealing with this issue of taxi violence? Because, as you would have seen in the CBD in Johannesburg, it even affects bystanders, innocent bystanders and commuters who have nothing to do with what is going on.
Well, firstly, the portfolio committee has been taken through the report that emanated out of the hearings, etc., hearing process that took place. And we are awaiting the outcomes there's a number of recommendations that are being implemented by the department. And we've been taken through by the MEC. And so we're eagerly awaiting the implementation of those recommendations. Safe to say that we are equally as concerned about matters of taxi violence, which have an impact on commuters, etc. And our view is that we want to see these recommendations implemented as a matter of urgency and without delay.
Okay. Rebecca, you're going to just allow me to pay bills a little, and then I'll come back to you and talk about your portfolio. It's at the center of what we are dealing with in this financial year 2020-2021, because, the COVID-19 pandemic has really visited a lot of strain in the Department of Health. And I wonder what you have been doing as the Portfolio Committee. 23 minutes past 10, my guests are Portfolio Committee chairpersons from the Provincial Legislature here in Gauteng: Health, Roads and Transport, and Finance. 0861 987 000 is the dial for you if you may have some questions or concerns that you want to chat to them about.
So, would you rather watch a gut-wrenching drama or exciting motorsports?
Oh, what do you mean, oh? Huh? La. I want and. I want cocktail on the right and a latte on the left. I want sci-fi with my reality. I want to laugh while I cry. I want to be driven and cruise with the top down. I want billions and legacy. Ngifuna konke.
Konke?
Yes, with DSTV Premium. Thola konke. Have it all.
Advance your life with African Bank's best investment rate of 11%. You can open a 60-month fixed deposit account in 3 minutes. Big dreams don't need big start. Earn SA's best investment rate from 500 Rand. Getting great returns could get you closer to your goals. Go to africanbank.co.za to invest today. African Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. African Bank, we are you.
Tackling the challenges of our time, one conversation at a time. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
Indeed, we are talking, and we are having these conversations with the Portfolio Committee chairpersons. And now I'm going to turn my attention to Rebecca Phaladi-Digamela, the Portfolio chairperson for Health. It's been a very difficult time for South Africa, particularly for Gauteng becoming the epicenter of the outbreak of various variants of the COVID-19 pandemic. Been a lot of other issues that have come out of the department: PPE corruption, killing of a whistleblower, and so many other things that have happened in that department. As the Portfolio Committee chairperson, can you just give us an appreciation of what you think of the state of the Department of Health in Gauteng?
Good afternoon, listeners of Power FM, and thank you for inviting us again. The state of health in the state of finances in the Department of Health is promising, because we recently were debating about the 2020-2021 financial year budget, and the department spent 98.1% of its finances. That, according to law, is allowed, because only 1.9% was underspent. So we also have challenges if there is an underspending, because if that is translated into money, it's a lot of money, because it's 1 billion and above that was not spent, and it means some service delivery somewhere was affected. So we are, as the overseer of the department and ensuring that the department does its work, we wish to see the department doing all what it has planned. They have goals that they set for themselves, and those goals need to be, all of them need to be achieved. So as a committee, when we identify problems in the department, we do not sit back and say they will sort it out. You need to remember, Lukhona, that we are a multi-party committee. And as a committee, all of us, we do not take kind when there is underspending, and yet we know there are many challenges everywhere in our department. So there are 8 programs in the department, and we have seen in this budget that almost most of them, there was some underspending along those programs, and we are not happy. On the issue of the killing of a whistleblower is also a challenge for us as a committee, because if a whistleblower is killed, why should there be no consequences that are done? And I think we also have our sister departments, like your AG report also, that will also expose what are the problems in the Department of Health. We also are having a working relationship with the Public Service Commission that also support what we as a committee are raising as challenges. We also are having expectations in terms of dealing with the wrongdoers in the department. As a committee, we have continuously raised the problem or the challenge with the supply chain management where wrongdoing is taking place. And this time around, we are expecting a plan and a feedback from the department by the 31st of January. We are expecting punitive measures to the wrongdoers in the department, particularly in the supply chain management. There should be punishment that should take place.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I wonder, Rebecca, COVID-19 was a shock in the system, particularly for the Department of Health, because then you have to reprioritize certain things. Your colleague Joe spoke about the APPs. Did you get a chance to adjust those annual, performance plans? Because when we say now, say Program 7 was not met properly, and yet perhaps Program 7 stopped being a priority because of COVID-19, and therefore an adjusted APP would have assisted the department to probably tick well some of those performance indicators. Did you have that conversation with the department?
Yes, actually the Committee of Health, when there was lockdown level 5, was the first committee that stood up and called a meeting with the team members to say, as Committee of Health, we cannot sit back when COVID is here and is ravaging our communities. So we participate. We also invite the department to come and explain what is the plan to address the COVID. So in terms of readjustment, yes, we also advise that it is important for the department to be ready when the COVID various stages are coming in. So we are not involved in the who is appointed and whatever, but when we see there is a problem, we encourage the department to step up to ensure that our people in this province, as and when they need health care, they receive it. And we have seen the department coming up with a makeshift hospitals like your Nazareth, and also your Ashanti Hospital in Westrand.
Yes.
And there were also other areas like the Eskom Center in Kempton Parkside, closer to Tembisa Hospital, to Tembisa area. Those are the areas we visited, and we were happy that as and when the COVID-19 goes up during level 5 last year, then our people will have an opportunity to receive care. So we were also influential to ensure that there is space available. I think you will remember the showground was also earmarked for a make-up shift.
Yeah.
And you will be aware that Tshwane District Hospital is completely closed, so that only COVID patients can be admitted there. If you go to Steve Biko, you'll find that there is a makeshift outside where if you come there, you first have to be checked. And if you are identified to be positive for COVID, then you are transferred to Tshwane District Hospital. But there was some time, the hospital was full, I think, during variant number 1. Then people were admitted all over the province. There was no need. If you stayed in Tshwane and there is space somewhere else outside the region,
you'd be able to go into that region.
Yes.
Let's hold it there for now. I'm in conversation with Rebecca Phaladi-Digamela for health, Gregory Schneemann for roads and transport, Joe Mpisi for finance, coming from the Provincial Legislature in Gauteng. But it's just 10:30, and that means Power News headlines with Katle Kholekgodi.
Thanks, Lupona. Good morning. In news making headlines at this hour, we start in the city of Tshwane, where City of Tshwane Mayor Randall Williams is expected to announce members of his mayoral committee this morning. This comes nearly a month after the swearing in of councillors in Hung Metros with reports of deadlocks and disagreements with Action SA and the Democratic Alliance's coalition. The mayor will make the announcement at the council chambers in the city of Tshwane, where the Democratic Alliance has made it clear that the party wants this process done with so it can turn the focus on providing adequate services to South Africans. In building up to the nomination of mayoral committee members in Gauteng, 3 metros of Johannesburg, Tshwane and Ekurhuleni, the negotiations are hit a snag and has left opposition parties, especially the ANC and the African Independent Congress, fuming. But DA Federal Executive Leader Helen Zille says this was not an easy process.
The negotiations were tough at times, a lot of give and take, a lot of bargaining, a lot of analysis, but we found each other, which is the important thing, and we could put governments together, which is the crucial thing for South Africa. And of course, local government is what makes the biggest difference to people in their daily lives. And so we really hope that we'll be doing a great job for the public of Gauteng and turning around broken local government to functional local government. It's not going to happen overnight, I'm not going to lie, but I certainly hope it will happen over the course of the term, and I have every confidence in the people who are our partners and, of course, in our mayors.
In other news, a panel of experts says that the ball is now in government's court after the experts recommended a basic income grant for South Africa, believing that this is feasible if implemented in a phased approach. The panel recommended that those with no income be given 595 rand in the early stages of the grants, which will be increased as the years go by. The report was launched on Monday with a panel saying that the COVID-19 relief grant, which amounts to 350 rand, is not enough. Chairperson of the panel, Professor Alex van der Heever, he says that this will provide income support to people aged 18 to 59 years old. He also says that the panel was made up of economists, professionals who are of the view that the fiscus would be able to cope with this process. And further afield, Canada has started recognizing molecular COVID-19 tests conducted at an accredited lab in South Africa for residents returning home, dropping heavily criticized travel restrictions introduced to prevent the spread of the Omicron variant. Ottawa has faced pressure from doctors, stranded passengers and the World Health Organization to reverse requirements that travelers from 10 Southern African countries get molecular PCR tests in a third country before returning to Canada. I'll have more details on this and other stories at the top of the hour.
Traffic.
A very good morning to you once again, and let's quickly take a look at what's happening on your roads. We start off in Crown City. If you're traveling on Main Reef Road, there's heavy congestion that's on both directions between the Langlaagte License Department as well as the Park Drive intersection. If you are traveling on the M2 highway, queuing traffic can be expected both ways in that area in central Johannesburg between Heidelberg and the Crown interchange due to those long-term roadworks that are on the go. That earlier crash on the N3 northbound just after the Marlborough Drive exit has been cleared off the road and traffic has started clearing up in that area. If you are traveling on the N1 northbound as you're passing four ways, you'll bump into some minor delays from William Nicol Drive, and they clear just before you get to the Rivonia Road exit. Over in the city of Tshwane, if you are traveling on Transorania Road, you can expect queuing traffic as you are passing the WF Nkomo Street intersection due to some traffic lights that are out of order along that route. If you are traveling on the N4 Bakwena Highway, there's queuing traffic on both sides there as well, and delays are just under 10 minutes as you are passing the Doornpoort Toll Plaza. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents you'd like to report, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm Lebohang Pukela.
Traffic.
The 2021 Chairman's Conversation Recap.
The idea was to build South Africa's own Disney World or Disneyland, but with a focus to develop the idea and to actually eventuate its implementation. Took a lot of days. I was approached by a Jewish friend of mine, one John Sandler, who said, I've been trying to come up with this idea, but it looks like I can't raise the money on a syndicated basis. We said the idea is fairly compelling. Do a bit more work, which we did, and we could build ShareWorld. And by the time we built ShareWorld, we had raised 19.4 million. 1986 was good money. If you try big, you can succeed big, or you can fail big. But whatever the consequence is, learn big.
If you missed the conversation, download the podcast on power987.co.za. Now we're talking.
Power Talk with Lupana. Weekdays 9 a.m. to noon on Power 98.7.
Yeah, let's go straight back to it. It's 23 minutes to the hour 11 o'clock. Now, I always have to look twice because ever since Peter said what he said to me, he confuses me. That's how I prefer it. We are in conversation with the Gauteng Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee Chairpersons. I am going to invite you, because these are your public representatives, on that line 0861-987-000 to be in conversation with them. We go back to the Chairperson for Finance, Joe Mpisi. The audit outcomes as laid out by the Auditor General last week fairly doing well in Gauteng, right? So we can account what is done with the money. We can trace where the money has gone. But there are other areas of concern, and I'm sure as the Portfolio Committee for Finance, you would very much be seized with this. The province is still not doing well in paying service providers on time. Where are the bottlenecks, especially on that issue? I mean, because if you say you've not paid R1 billion to service providers in the stipulated, time frame, it means that there is a business at risk of failure without that payment. Where are you as the Portfolio Committee in understanding some of the bottlenecks that lead to this challenge?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, Lukona, as a province, we adopted two approach. And as the legislature, we've made it a point that the Gauteng government must actually pay, particularly the SMMEs, in 15 days. And I can safely say that about between 95 and 98% of most of our departments are actually doing that. And there are those that are still battling. They still pay their suppliers in 30 days. Some are still passing that 30 days. We have a department that has actually created a lot of problems for us. And I think my colleagues will attest to that, is the Department of Infrastructure Development, as well as the Department of Human Settlement. That's where we had problems with the payments of 30 days. And we have what you call GPG-wide, where we invite all the head of departments, their MECs, as well as their CFOs to come and account. And these are the challenges that we had. And I think, look, Anna, we may say COVID had a problem for all of us. But you can't sit with an invoice in your desk for more than 90 days. It doesn't make sense. And job has been done.
Yeah.
And that particular individual is struggling to pay his or her employees, to pay debts and so on. So we have pushed and we have requested all provincial chairpersons of committees to make sure that they must push their MECs, they must push their HODs and their departments to make sure that there mustn't be a bottleneck. Because the problem was supply chain management had a problem in making sure that invoices are paid. People wanted bribes. And I think we have dismantled that.
Yeah.
And I must say that in the year 2019-20 financial year, in the province alone, we have dismissed about 7 CFOs. We have dismissed about 6 chief directors of supply chain management from different departments. To show that we are actually worried about corruption, we are worried about mediocrity. Because if you employ people who are professional, the professional ethics must kick in as and when they are in their jobs. So we have made it our point that each and every department, particularly the 2 departments that I've mentioned, these are the big departments when they deal with capital projects. And when the Premier says we are going to make Gauteng a construction site, we expect that to happen. We have to make sure that what the Premier said must happen. Then the department given that responsibility must happen. Treasury must make sure that there's money available for that department. So there were this bottleneck, and I'm happy that both the legislature and the government of Gauteng, we are working together in ensuring that we eliminate these bottlenecks. Yeah. On the issues of the Auditor General's outcomes, I must say that we have an improvement this time around because we have moved from 8 clean audit to 17 clean audits. The main challenge is there are these entities that falls under our departments that are not accounting properly. And as a result, they create a problem for us.
And do you think the legislature has opened the gap of lack of accountability for those entities, and maybe it's something that needs to be attended to and closed?
Remember those entities, we have the boards in those entities. In those boards are not accounting on time to the department that they are under. For example, if you look at the the entity of Treasury, which is GIFA, the Gauteng Infrastructure Agency.
Yeah.
That agency, fortunately, in our case, it's not like that, because we hold them accountable at all material times, make sure that the management of that entity reports on time. We get our reports on time. We invite them to our meetings as the portfolio committee. Unlike other departments, it's very rare you find that a portfolio committee invites an entity or the agency that falls under their portfolio.
Yeah.
And that is the weakness, I think, that we must address. But we have closed that gap now. We know. You can ask my colleague Greg here, if you look at how they account and how they perform, far better than many other entities. And when we call them to come and account, they don't give us, no, please, Chairperson, can you postpone and so on. No. They will tell you, Chairperson, what is it that you're expecting from us? Can you send us the questions? We send them that, and they come and present according to what our needs are.
Almost like proactive accountability,
Indeed.
which then means that it's also the responsibility of those who lead those agencies. Gregory?
But I must also say, just before you go to Greg, one of the things that I've fought in the province is the redundancy of some of the departments in executing their responsibility. If you look at the Department of Infrastructure, we expected them at that time to have spent at least minimum of 95% of their total budget. Unfortunately, they did not reach that. Human settlement, same thing. Roads and transport was another. And you look at agriculture and rural development, also the same. Sports, arts and culture performing at 36% in the second quarter of that year. And you can then realize that we had a challenge in dealing with those.
Yeah.
So, but we are saying that it has to be a department that makes sure that people who are doing business with the state, they must be paid on time.
Okay. I see you, Temba, on the line, 0861987000. Gregory, Joe raises an interesting issue here about the Gautrain. I once had the Gautrain CEO here. And the banning issue with the Gautrain is really about the expansion of the Gautrain. And it seems as if there is something missing in the availing of some capital expenditure for the Gautrain to be able to expand. As a portfolio committee, what is your understanding of that? Because we know that the Gautrain has a plan to expand.
Yes, no, thanks very much. Firstly, you're quite correct. The plans are underway in looking at the expansion of the Gautrain, expanding the rail network of the Gautrain. And at this stage, it's in a planning phase. And that planning is at quite an advanced stage. Obviously, the issues of funding and finances, those are matters that are all part of the process. And so those are matters that are being discussed. But the process around planning the routes and putting all the necessary matters in place for this expansion to move towards the ultimate where we start to see shovels in ground. That's all part of the process, and the funding and how it will be funded, how it will be paid for, who will pay for it, where it will come from. That's all part of the process. But we had a briefing as the portfolio committee 2 weeks ago with the MEC and the GMA, Gautrain Management Agency. And they made it very clear to us that the expansion plans are on track. And we will continuously get updates as well, and particularly around the issues of finance and the funding.
Is it your understanding, though, that there was a halting of the previous plan? Because in February this year, there were news that came out that, there's the Gautrain 2 has been halted, and at the time we're talking about 149 kilometers of rail network, 19 new stations, and there was quite great clarity of where the corridors of those networks would have been. So what happened to those plans?
Well, there are plans for different routes, and we were assured as well as the committee that there's no intention to halt the expansion plans. Obviously, There are routes that include areas such as Cosmo City, and beyond that, there are other routes that will be looking at going out to the east, to the west, etc. The Soweto link as well. And those are all part of the process that are currently being planned at the moment. But in terms of, was the expansion plan halted and was it stopped? That we've been informed was not the case. It wasn't halted.
Okay.
It is on. It's on track and it's proceeding.
Okay. Tandi's on the line, and I think the question is relevant to you, Greg. Tandi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Lukona. Thank you very much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Yes. I would like to pose a question to your panel there. There is a very, very disturbing trend there, and it's becoming a norm, and it looks as though nobody is crying about it. The consistent and continuous vandalism of the street lights, of the road signs, is heartbreaking, because if we don't rescue this trend now, by the time we need to do something about it, we won't have budget to do that.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really heartbreaking, because everywhere you go, it seems as if sometimes people just kick the lights and kick the street signs, and you find them lying there, and really, 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 really something has to be done.
Yeah. No, Tandi, thank you very much. I mean, Greg, this is an important issue, especially as it relates to road signage, because signage assists us to get to places quicker and easy. There are roads that you drive or that you realize you don't even know how many kilometers to the next, because some people have vandalized that infrastructure, which is an important complementary infrastructure to the actual road itself. What are you picking up as the portfolio committee in that regard?
Well, look, it's quite correct, and Tanti, thanks for your call. The issue of vandalism, streetlights, road signs, and other road infrastructure is a major problem, and I think firstly we should condemn it in the strongest terms possible. And where we have information, we should pass that on to the law enforcement agencies. Such criminals are arrested and put where they belong. Wherever you go, you will find street poles have just been pulled down, cables stolen, light fittings stolen, and street signs as well. I think people use it for scrap metal and all sorts of things. And so it's a big problem. A lot of that infrastructure that is being vandalized is within our municipalities. That's where a lot of it is taking place. And I think that firstly, I mean, I think it calls for a change of heart of individuals, because it's criminal. It's absolute criminal. It's destroying taxpayers' money, and it is a big problem. And I know one of the big industries that's obviously often being targeted are the scrap dealers and the scrap metal dealers. There have been some breakthroughs in the past, but I think we also need to make that call to them as well. Stop buying this stuff.
Yeah.
Because as long as you're buying that, you are creating a market for people to go and vandalize. But I think the big thing, it needs a change of culture in all of us. We should respect the law, and that infrastructure that's put up there is to benefit us.
Absolutely. Got you loud and clear. Let's take a break, pay some bills, and then I will be back, of course, and continue this conversation. My guests, Rebecca Phaladi-Digamela, Gregory Schneemann, and Joe Mpisi, joining me here in studio, just unpacking work of the departments that they have oversight over.
Since 1998, the Hatfield Motor Group has been building the highest levels of customer satisfaction, and our business pulse has never been stronger. Our dealers offer benchmark service and quality repairs at affordable prices. If your Audi or Volkswagen needs a service, minor or major repair, talk to us and let us quote you on parts and labor. We have dealers in Hatfield, Rivonia, Bryanston, Braamfontein, Melrose, and Northcliffe. Why have your VW or Audi serviced anywhere else? Hatfieldgroup.co.za. Rated number 1 in service.
If it's true that money makes the world go round, then Outsurance will do everything they can to make sure your world spin like never before. It's simple. SMS out to 40253 now. If they can't beat what you are currently paying on your car insurance, you can ask them for 500 rands cash, or even 1,500 rands if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Go for it. SMS out to 40253. You could be pleasantly surprised. Our Assurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
9 a.m. to news. This is Power Talk on Power 98.7.
Okay, let's go back to it. It is about what now? 7 minutes to the hour, 11 o'clock. Rebecca, issues of health, of course, very important. We've spoken about the money. Let's talk a bit about the management at health. We saw quite a departure of some personnel in that department as the portfolio committee. And of course, we saw a change of an MEC and all of these things. How are you dealing with this issue of making sure that the department continues to have a capable stewardship?
Thank you very much. We would like to see a department that is self-sustainable, that can stand on its own. And the departure of some people that I will not mention their names here was to ensure that at a certain level the problems are relieved from the department. The department requires strong people who will face any challenge that is coming. And I think my colleague, Member Mpisi, mentioned earlier about releasing or relieving of about 8 people and 8 CFO and some managers. We also has one who left the department because of she was implicated in the wrongdoing. This is what we appreciate and we push for as a committee, because we do not want to be seen as complainers all the time. We want to see action taking place. I think our reports are a public knowledge that we present in the House regarding such reports like this one of budget of 2020-2021 financial year. Our recommendations are continuously, we are not leaving them behind. For example, we have seen that the department is appointing contractors with lacking competition. They cannot compete. So we continuously tell the department that these people must be relieved from their duties. We are not happy to see that the department is inviting uncompetitive bids. It's very wrong. Especially for less than 500,000 goods and services, they must still continuously do that, but it remains a challenge in the department. So I think
what's driving it though? Is it a competence problem? Is it an impatience issue, or is it partly a maladministration?
It is maladministration because it has persisted from the previous financial year. It is existing here, and this remains our recommendation to the department to deal with this kind of behavior. So we identify this as a burning issue because if they invite uncompetitive bids, how are we expecting good service in our department? We do not take it kind, because remember, we also visit our health facilities to go and do oversight duty in the health facilities. We interact with the CEOs of our hospitals that are crying that their service providers are not paid on time. We are a little bit improved because it's at 54%, but we want to see 15% payment, especially of the township suppliers, because those are the suffering ones.
In fact, that's the point I wanted to put to you, because Temba had called in on the line and left a message of, is there a role that you can play in making sure that the department pays suppliers in time?
Yes, that we are pushing for, because 54% is not sufficient for us. We want to see 100% payment of the township suppliers, because I suspect, we as a committee, we suspect the big companies, they don't play tricks with them because they will tackle them. But this one that you are asking, that is what we are after it every day. We do not want to see people expecting to pay 10% before they are paid. This is what is happening currently. So we are dealing with it, and we will not rest until we follow all this. We are not afraid. We know people are killed, but as a committee, we've put our life down for responding to these people. Temba can also, maybe outside this meeting, I can give my contact, because every day we are addressing issues.
That's fine. We'll connect. Snetemba will facilitate that. We did that as well yesterday. Joe, this issue of procurement is a huge one. The Gauteng Provincial Government has tried to go e-procurement route, try and be transparent in terms of the tendering process and publishing various documents, including deliberations of bid adjudication committees. But we're still seeing a great deal of corruption, especially with PPE. As the Portfolio Committee on Finance, what are you putting in place? Because we're still going to be with this pandemic for some time, and it seems to create a bit of panic in the procurement process. What are you assisting to put in as a check and balance?
Yeah, thanks very much, Lukon. I think two recommendations we have made during the debate on the annual report. One of the issues that deals with the emergency procurement, you know that during the outbreak of COVID, there was this rush of procurement. Even illegal companies were used, companies without capacity, hair salons, car wash, and all that.
Unapproved companies for the services they were providing.
So we have made two recommendations, and we've said that the Department of Treasury must make sure that they develop the guidelines on emergency procurement. Two, we said that the department must ensure that these two departments that I don't want to mention now, but I'll give you off air.
Yeah.
That they must ensure that the supply chain management, the risk compliance actions must be taken against some individuals that are currently being tracked. That's why I'm not going to mention the names of the people that are currently being tracked by the hawks, because we want to make sure that those individuals, for the work that they've done and the mess that they've done, they must be arrested for that, because it costs millions and millions of rand. You have seen now in education, the SIU report is out, and now people are being charged. They are appearing before the judges in different courts, and we are going to make sure that that happens. You have seen with health as well. The former CFO, she's currently going through the court processes, and the previous management of the department, they are also appearing in court because of corruption. So we are dealing with that, because our issue is we must not use the public resource for the personal gains. Lastly, we have said that each and every department in their senior management or middle management structures, they must identify people who are doing business with the state, because the Public Service Commission have given us that some departments, we have employees who are employed by the state, but they are doing business with the state. And we want to have a report, and I think next time when I come here, I'll give you a detailed report about what is it that we're going to do to make sure that there's consequence management. There's the department must get the money back from those individuals. They must be fired, actually.
Definitely. I mean, that's a huge talking point. I think it cuts across all departments, the consequence management, recouping of funds that have been taken away illicitly. Gregory Schneemann, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners as well.
Rebecca Phaladi-Digamela, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I wish to come back.
Joe Mpisi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks to your listeners for listening to us, and we hope to interact with them soon.
People of power, clearly it's very warm and nice in this studio. That's why people want to come back. We're clearly doing something right. It's 11 o'clock, time for Power News.
Thank you.